everybody, it's Lilia here. How are you doing? How have you been? I'm a one-to-one English teacher and I thought, why don't I do this video? Because most videos are aimed at group teachers, those who works with large groups of people. So I've decided, why don't I talk about my first and foremost specialisation in my career path? And if you're a teacher who's just deciding to step in your one-to-one teaching journey, this is going to be a great video to inspire you to have a great start. So in this video, I'm going to talk about 5 basic rules of successful teaching in the one-to-one teaching area. So here comes the first thing. I ran across a little meme not so long ago which said, English is language, not a measure of intelligence. And I think this is really, really important to put into a teaching mind as every time you set off on a journey to go and meet your student. I think this is really important because many teachers tend to judge their students' intelligence based on the level of English their learners speak. And obviously, if you're speaking a foreign language, you can't be as eloquent and brilliant from the very start when you're just starting out your learning journey, and this is all right. So I don't think that teachers should undermine their students' intelligence skills based on the English they speak, because that would be really unfair. There's so much we can learn from our students, and I do think that we need to keep that in mind when teaching our learners. I think this is really, really crucial. So here's something you can do. Imagine that you're an interviewer and you're conducting an interview. You're interviewing your student every time you're asking your questions. Be careful and listen to the answers that your students give. Listen actively, listen in an interested way. Make sure you support the conversation, you get the conversation going, and that will help you establish meaningful relationship with your student and just help your student learn better, because you will help them engage in a natural language conversation. I like to watch This Morning interviews. This Morning is a British show where amazing presenters interview random people, working class people, not just celebrities or TV stars. They just talk to normal people. And this is really, really interesting because this is where I draw my inspiration from for conducting meaningful interviews and talking to my students in a meaningful way. I think it's really important to respect your students for who they are, not the English they speak. Here's rule number 2. Teachers love being talkative, and I think you may be familiar with the term TTT, which stands for teacher talking time. And this is something that we tend to slide into when we talk to our students a lot, because we tend to think that if we're having a one-to-one class, we're in the right of being able to speak a little bit more, which is not always the case, because your students come to your classes in order to learn, in order to get this chance to practice their own English skills, and you're there to facilitate that goal. So make sure you let your students speak as much as they can. You maximize their talking time and minimize your talking time by only restricting yourself to being able to talk at moderate length when giving feedback, or just sharing your comments with your learners, or just simply asking the questions and introducing the activities. So let your students do their English job. Rule number 3, many one-to-one teachers who have transitioned from teaching classrooms to doing one-to-one teaching very often complain that there are so many books and methodology resources written for classroom teachers, and there are so few written for one-to-one teachers, and it's very difficult to find a lovely source of activities for your one-to-one teaching. Actually, I think that any activity could be converted for use in a one-to-one class if used creatively and nicely. So there are so many activities you can do. Very often competitive games is possibly one of the activities that is very, very difficult to convert, although you can if you use a little bit of creativity. But for games, you need to make sure they are not language output dependent, meaning that there is an element of chance. So your students don't feel they're being humoured all the time. They don't feel as if you're just, grading a language down so they can win, because on a personal level, this might not be the best idea in the world. So make sure there is an element of chance and your students can be the winner regardless of their English skills, but because they're just having fun playing this game against you. So there is so much you can do to convert any class activity into one-to-one activity. Just need to think outside the square and refer to your creative skills. Story cubes is another fantastic idea to add a little bit of dynamics to a one-to-one class. One-to-one classes don't actually mean that they should be boring or they should go on for a little bit. You could just make them communicative, like you would do with a classroom, a larger group of students. You can do that, so free to do that. Do this and be creative, and technically you can do anything you would normally do in a classroom with a one-to-one student too. Okay, so here comes rule number 4. Most learners are willing to have one-to-one lessons because they want to target specific linguistic areas that they feel they're not particularly good at, and you're there to facilitate that goal. So try to make sure that you're working on personalised lessons. And even if you're not so eager to write detailed plans or spend too much time planning, there's one thing you can still do. You can learn something about Teaching Unplugged. This is a great methodology created by Mr. Scott Thornbury and Luke Meddings. So that would have to be my favourite book and teaching methodology. I might have mentioned in the comment section down below one of my other videos on this channel. So it's completely material free, so you don't have to bring loads of materials to every class if you're teaching face to face, or just don't need to have a lot of stuff scattered around you if you're teaching online. So this is something you can still do, right? So just go with the flow sometimes. Test your students' learning style. This could be a great piece of advice to check whether they're visual, if they're auditory, if they're kinesthetic. I've got an episode of my podcast where I talk about the ways in which we can identify our own learning style as well as our students' learning style. So this is something that you would want to do in your very first lesson. Give your learners a chance to speak, to see where they are with their English. So, you could use that as a starting point to propel their English, to drive it forward. There's no universal rule. It all comes with practice. And although I talk about 5 rules in this video, basically the rules for your own teaching will come out with practice, with experience. I just need to teach. Run a speaking test to see where your students are, and make sure you focus on their hobbies and things they like doing in their free time, so you could help them by suggesting the materials they might like, the podcasts they might like. And if you're working on your own English skills all the time by listening to a variety of materials, every now and then I'm fairly sure you will be able to suggest a lovely bit of material for your students based on their wants and needs. Okay, so here comes rule number 5. Be ready to take a step back from your plan and be a nimble teacher. Be flexible. Be ready to go with the flow. Very often our students in the classroom don't have much chance to bring their favourite topics to the table because there is a number of other people sitting around them who might have different preferences, so it's just simply not possible to humour everybody in the room. Whereas in one-to-one teaching, we're given such a brilliant chance to target the needs of each individual student that we could just possibly throw in the language that particular student needs. So why don't we do that? I know this comes with experience, and I know that brilliant English, or just good English, I mean really fluent and accurate English, if you like, is fundamental for this ability. And I know that many teachers in my country are unwilling to teach unplugged, even if they're familiar with the basics of the methodology, because they don't actually feel confident enough to be able to think on their feet. So just, if you're a teacher, try working on your own English first. Improve on your English every single day, and make sure you work with a person and not just a robot, because it's all about our interpersonal interaction. Any kinds of lessons, we're teaching people, and we need to bear that in mind. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. If you're a one-to-one teacher and you have any questions or suggestions for further videos you'd like to see on my channel, make sure you throw them into the chat, comment section down below, and I'll try to make sure I deal with those questions as soon as I can. Thank you so much. Yesterday I just I dropped into the statistics box on this channel, and it turned out there are 2,000 of us, which is great. So thank you so much for subscribing to my channel, guys. I'm very happy that you're here with me, and I really hope to talk to you all soon. Make sure you ask your questions in the comments and I'll make sure they're answered. So thank you so much. Good luck with your teaching. I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.